Theo, brother. Good to see you. Great to have you on the show, brother. I wanted to reach
Thank you
out
for
to
having me.
you. Yeah,
Great.
no, it's an honor. It's been wanting to reach out to you. You've been a staple in the underground scene for quite some time. You've I think at this point your name is very well known. Theo, it's a name that's part of the old school underground. You're definitely an OG, and I wanted to get you out here. You just to kind of hear your
Sure.
story, brother. How it started for you,
Sure.
man. You know?
Yeah. So I I'm 49 now. I've been DJing in general since I was 13. Um, and I started DJing raves and when I was 18. So
Oh,
in junior high and high school, I got into DJing because it was kind of a neighborhood thing. I grew up
yeah,
in San Gabriel Valley in West Covina,
yeah,
and there were a lot of DJ crews and a lot of backyard parties during that time. And so I kind of fell into that whole thing.
yeah.
And I started listening to house music because of that while I was in high school in the late 80s. And even though I hadn't gone to my first rave, I was starting to listen to techno and stuff.
Okay.
And after I graduated high school in 91, I went to my first rave and kind of quickly fell in love with it. And I was like, and I was already DJing, so it wasn't
Which was your first rave since you
my
mentioned it?
first rave. So I went to some underground like warehouse party
Yeah,
in I was in San Gabriel Valley in
cool.
December of 91, but my first like legitimate rave was
Yeah.
Messiah at February of 92.
Wow.
And that was at La Casa. And it had
Okay.
Ron Decor and DJ Dan and a
Yeah.
couple other ones. And
So
after that night, it was me and my buddies. So the story is we actually, I was buying techno music and I was going to Melrose and purchasing stuff. But, so I hadn't gone to my first rave yet. So we collect all of the flyers from the stores on Melrose. And me and my buddies went to my garage and started listening to the records that I bought.
yeah.
And I was like, well, why don't we just go to rave tonight? And everyone kind of looked at each other like, yeah, why not? So we just ended up going to our first rave that night on a whim. And,
Cool.
we were there till like 5 or 6 in the morning. And we
Nice.
got back. And I remember at my buddy's house in the morning, and we're all kind of just like, kind of tripping out on what we experienced because it was so different. It was so unique.
Right.
And I remember us all looking at each other and like, yeah, we're gonna go next weekend, right? So it became a thing. It was just like this,
Yeah.
started going. And because I was already DJing, I was like, well, how do I get involved? How do I do this? How do I, so I started, I made mixtapes. And what I did was back in the day, there was no internet or social media or email even.
Yeah.
So what you would do is there is always voicemails on the flyers that gave directions on the night of or gave you information of the party.
Right.
And I would call up all the voicemails and I would leave a bit of my mixtape and I would be like, "Hey, I'm a new DJ in the scene. My name's Theo, and here's a little bit of what I can do." And I'd play my mixtape over the phone on the
Oh
voice.
shit. What?
Yeah, and this guy named Coco, who went by the name the Candyman, who was a
Yeah.
DJ, and he was throwing a party in March of '92 called Under the Candy Ground.
Okay.
And one night he called me up and he's like, "You want to play at my party?" Like, of course,
Right.
So
Holy
I
shit.
went to his house. He lived in Van Nuys, and we started just playing records together. And he was like, "Yeah, let's get you on my show." And that was my first gig. Was in March '92 at a party called Under the Candy Ground, and it had myself, Tony Largo, DJ Dan, Randy Core. So yeah, it was that was my first kind of thing. And then Coco and I started kind of teaming up as DJs together. So we made
Cool.
a couple of mixtapes, and one of them being this mixtape called Please Don't Feed the DJs, which was all, came out in May of '92. And it
Yeah.
was all old school techno. And it was kind of like DJ Dan and Ron came out with their tape, D
Right.
times two. And this was kind of our response to their tape. Because what I loved about D times two was that it was kind of like the first like real professional mixtape. It had
Right.
real printing on the tape and it was like legit. And I had a friend, this guy named Pete, who worked at a tape duplicator in Covina,
Hmm.
and he was able to hook us up and get tapes done really quickly, and also professional looking, printing on the car on the actual tapes, all of that. So I did all my mixtapes mainly through V Corp. And yeah, it was I was just churning out mixtapes left and right. It was just,
Nice.
that's how I kind of started getting known in the scene, was through my mixtapes like Cyber Sex and Sunset on Venus and all these other tapes. And
Right.
I just kept, hustling. I just, any place I could play, I'd play.
That is dope, dude. How many voicemail messages do you leave with you playing and mixing? Was it just that's such a I've
It
never
was
heard that idea. That's such a creative way back then.
well, I just didn't know how else I could get my name out, right?
Right.
I figured that was the best way to reach people, is actually, try to, leave these messages on these voicemails.
Yeah.
And I probably, I think because I collected a bunch of flyers at the end of the night, because you always get all these flyers. So
Yeah.
yeah, every flyer that I got that night, I called the voicemail up and hit up. So it was at least probably 20 or 30.
Yeah. Right. Dude, that's so
And then
creative.
after
I never even thought about that.
And then after I hooked up with
Mhm.
Coco, he was already kind of so tied into the scene, because
Right.
he was around for a lot longer. He kind of helped open up doors as well. So
Dude, that's awesome, dude. I didn't even know that. That's because I remember seeing your tapes everywhere, and everyone had your tapes, and your tapes got out there like quickly. And like you said, there was no internet back then. Everything
yeah,
was so just word of mouth. That's the only way to get your stuff out there,
yeah.
and
So to me, the mixtapes were, a huge part of, how I grew as a DJ. And also what I liked about mainly about mixtapes was that with mixtapes, you didn't really have to think about necessarily a dance floor. You could be creative.
yeah,
And, like Cybersex was like stuff I loved listening to, but it probably wasn't stuff I would play often, because it wasn't, kind of ravey. It was more
right,
um, kind of not well, even experimental, but just different kind of techno.
yeah,
Sunset on Venus was, chill out and kind of down tempo.
yeah,
So I like, I like a lot of different styles of music. So being able to be creative with that with mixtapes was kind of like, and it also helped by creating unique mixtapes and doing things that other people weren't doing at the time. The only person that was like doing like those kind of different style mixtapes at the time was like Eli Starr, and he
yeah,
was coming out with some really really good stuff at the time.
yeah,
But it kind of sets you apart.
right. So when you first started, it was I imagine it was mostly techno. Did your
Yes.
musical choice? I know you mentioned that you loved all styles, and in the beginning there was a lot of breakbeat, a lot of techno. That
Yes.
the early time did your style kind of move? Because I move with the time. Did you venture into more house? Like
For me, it was
how
it was
where did your journey take you? As so many DJs that
yeah.
go from one area to a different area.
When I first started DJing raves, I was really into like the breakbeat style
Yeah,
of techno,
right.
or like the Moving Shadow and
Yeah,
Reinforced Records, and that was kind of the precursor of drum and bass.
right.
And I could have gone down that road of where I turned more into drum and bass and kind of that sound, which I love. I absolutely love drum and bass. I'm actually playing drum and bass tomorrow up in Santa Barbara. Um,
Nice.
but the what ended up happening was I remember distinctly going into Street Sounds over on Melrose,
Yeah.
and I was shopping, and I think it was Frank C who was working there.
Yeah.
He hit me up and he's like, "Check this out," and it was the first Platypus track by Art of Trance,
Okay.
and that was kind of like, "What the hell is this?"
Right.
And I started discovering trance music, and then I got into Hard House and IQ and this melodic kind of German trance stuff.
Yeah.
So really, that's kind of like, I mean, it was, at the time when I first started, it was just like straight beat techno or hard or breakbeat techno, and then there was
Yeah.
house, of course. But as more genres were splitting out of these other genres, as breakbeat techno was becoming, you know, drum and bass, and kind of the hardcore rave stuff was coming, gabber and hardcore and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, I discovered trance along the way, and kind of just fell into trance, and then that led me, like in the mid '90s, where I was playing like psytrance or Goa trance at the time, and
Nice.
um, but I always was always liking other styles of music at the same time. I was trying to, you know, I was always interested in trying new things. I never wanted to be bored with
Yeah.
DJ. I never wanted to be like, oh, he's just this kind of DJ.
Right. Right. To get that label attached. Right.
Yeah, because to me, if you get a label attached to you, then you kind of live and die by that label.
Right.
Um, you know,
True.
at the time, I was really into trance, and I played trance, and it was fun. Then I, started playing filtered house and techno and all kinds of other stuff. So now I feel it's great because when I do play, I have a wide variety of things I can actually kind of um, you know draw in from. So lately people have been asking me to play like trance and
Cool. Right.
and psytrance and techno and stuff like that, and it's fun because it keeps me from being complacent,
Right.
and it allows me to stretch my wings. And it also, I was thinking about this the other day. The real reason, I hope that people continue to book me is because I have 30 years of experience within the rave
Right.
scene,
Right.
and that I can draw from that, and that you're really, hopefully, you're booking me, you're hiring me because I can pull from that wealth of knowledge, as far as you know where at least from my experiences over the past 30 years.
Right. Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And would you say that, did your musical choice remain in the trance? Did it venture off to any other styles as the years went by?
Yeah, I mean, and up until about you know 2000, I was playing a lot of big room trance stuff.
Yeah.
And then I remember when the Masterdome shut down and
Oh,
things kind of moved over to Orion in
yeah.
downtown LA. I was kind of made a conscious effort to kind of play more houseier, and um and I was really getting into like filtered and disco house and all kind of stuff. And I
Nice.
remember for a while people were like, didn't know what to make of me, because when they booked me they thought trance, and here I was trying to play
Mm,
other things.
right.
Um, but you just keep pushing, and the way I try to approach my DJing is like, yes, I can play different styles, but it's still a Theo set.
Right. Right. Dude, and I love the fact that it's been 30 years and you have that same passion for playing. And although you have like what I like to call a grown-up job, like myself
Yes.
and so forth, and you know, you still have that same amount of passion for playing, which is amazing, And have you ever lost it over the years? Because some DJs they kind of lose it. Some people remain strong and they just love the craft and they keep playing and they have that love.
N- I've I haven't stopped. I mean,
That's
the
awesome.
only time I've kind of paused a little bit was when I moved to Hawaii.
Yeah.
I was kind of just, adjusting to someplace new, and I wasn't in LA where I could get booked every weekend. So I was kind of forced to make a pause
Yeah.
with the DJing. But I was DJing there pretty much at least once a month.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the same as LA. So, but when I
Right.
moved back to Santa Barbara, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, as soon as we moved here, so that slowed everyone down. So no,
Why Hawaii? Why did you move to Hawaii? It's just to, family,
okay,
friends, get
yeah,
away.
it was um, basically my wife and I and my friend Tony Gamboa and his girlfriend. We were vacationing in Hawaii in October of 2018,
Cool.
and Tony and I were working for the same company, and we knew
Right.
that the company was going to fail, and we probably need to go find other jobs.
Mm.
So while we were in Hawaii vacationing, I took it upon myself to be like, well, I like it here. Why don't I? Because I've been going to the island for like 20 years. I'm like, let's see if I can get a job here. Let's see what just see what happens.
Nice.
So I applied for a director of IT position for a healthcare company out there called Hawaii Health Systems, and they interviewed me in November. I got the job offer in December, and in January I moved to Hawaii.
Nice. That's
So
awesome.
I was there for about 14 months,
Okay.
and then got this job at UCSB.
Okay.
And I think Hawaii was a challenge, but it was something I needed to do. I needed to get away from LA for a bit, and it was
Yeah.
good because what ends up happening is like you end up missing it. You end up missing, and I think sometimes that's good. It's good
Yeah.
to kind of put yourself away from that stuff in order
Right.
to understand why you need it.
Right. And it's just a beautiful place. And you know, and to come back, you came back to California, you came back to Santa Barbara. What at what period or what time? It seems like, did you arrive back in California right when COVID hit?
Yeah, we moved back. So I started my new job, or the job I'm currently in January 2020.
Oh shit.
I
Oh
I was in Santa Barbara for 2 weeks.
shit.
I told my boss I'm gonna, as part of the arrangement of me getting hired, was I was gonna go back to Hawaii for six
Yeah.
weeks to move
Right.
and do all that stuff, and then I'd be back in California on March 1st.
Hmm.
And we stuck to that plan. So on March 1st, we moved from um, Hawaii back to California,
Yeah.
and then 2 weeks later, it was lockdown.
My God, bro. You left just in time.
I did. Absolutely.
Wow. Holy shit.
Yeah, it
Because
was
yeah,
crazy.
literally in Hawaii, lockdown.
Yeah, especially there because the way the healthcare system works,
Mhm.
you're on an island in the middle of nowhere. So
Yeah.
if the pandemic were to go out of control there and like take up all of the hospital rooms, it would be chaos.
Yeah.
And that's
Right.
why they were so strict as far as tourism and people coming and going. It
That
really
makes
wasn't
sense.
because of anything other than taxing the healthcare system there.
Right. That makes sense. So what happened when you got here and it was basically shut down? Sounds like you moved completely.
Yeah.
You were here and then
Well, we moved somewhat completely. I mean,
right.
so all your stuff goes in a boat, and so like our stuff didn't get. I mean, we're probably like 5 weeks before our stuff got here. So we were living out of camping chairs in our apartment for a while.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but that was the same thing when I moved to Hawaii. I got there first, and then we had dogs, and that whole process of quarantine and all that.
Mhm.
So my wife stayed back, and
Yeah.
she didn't really join me until spring. I was there in January, and she didn't get there till April.
So what was it like in Santa Barbara right in the middle of COVID? You were
Because I was working on the university, so the first thing was to clear people out, get
Yeah.
people off campus,
Right.
set up, remote learning. So yeah, it was crazy, but it was almost 2 years without. It was for like at least the first year. I remember I was going into the office still because I live right by the university, and it was
Yeah.
just me and my boss. And for a long time, it was just him and I, and I didn't see anyone else on campus. But
Wow.
now it's back, it's full, there's students everywhere, it's pandemonium, but it's good.
Yeah, because back then you had it was the whole learning from remotely. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's all
sure you
Zoom, and yeah.
yeah, so you had to set up all those all that for everyone. And yeah, that's crazy. Wow. Dude, it's just, and of course, like as far as DJing, you moved back and you it was
Yeah.
completely shut down as a DJ. So when did you start to kind of get back into getting some gigs to start to play again back in Santa Barbara or LA?
So what ended up happening was I tried to do the Twitch thing.
Oh,
Um,
right, right.
Everyone was doing it.
Yeah,
But I didn't care for it. I really didn't. It didn't, do anything for me because it
yeah,
was just kind of like it was boring to me a bit, because to me, DJing is also about, you know, feedback, right?
from
Yeah.
the crowd.
Chat rooms are one thing, it's fine and that's cool,
Yeah,
but to have that, feedback from an audience is kind of, um, important for me. So yeah, I remember in like August of 2020,
hmm.
um, somebody was doing an outdoor party, like a beach party, and I ended up DJing at that just because.
Was maybe it was Reza's? I remember Reza was doing something at a beach party too.
Um, yes, I played at Rez's birthday thing. That was
Yeah,
yeah, and I think because it was outside, and I think people felt safer, and at the
right,
time. But still, people gave me flack for um, you know participating in events during the midst of a pandemic, because this was right before people were getting vaccinated and all that stuff. So
yeah,
yeah, and I try to, I didn't go out a lot, during that time. I was mainly, you know, like everyone else, kind of sheltering at home.
right,
And but given the right circumstances, if it was outdoors, and the way I work as a DJ is I always I never hang out. Rarely do I ever hang out. I mainly just go like I'm known for showing up 5 minutes before my set and leaving 5 minutes after.
right, right.
Just go in, I do my thing, and typically I jet after that.
Yeah, after you hit that set.
Yeah, yeah, well, because I mean, for me, there was a difference. I'm there for a different reason than most people there. Most people are there to party all night.
Yeah, right,
Which I get. That's why I'm part of that. But my thing is, my job is I'm here for this amount of time to do what I do, and
yeah,
I've always treated it like work, like it's a
yeah,
job,
yeah,
and I think that's worked for me because I haven't gotten caught up in the rave shenanigans for the most part.
right, right. That's awesome, man. That right when you got back into it and COVID started to kind of go away somewhat, did it seems like, do you get people to reach out to you more about events that started to open
Yeah,
up and
I mean, people knew I was back in California, so yeah, I
yeah,
started with kind of doing more park parties and more outdoor parties, and then
right,
gradually it turned into like last year was really busy. I did, Lightning in a Bottle. I did Lucidity. I did EDC. I did Nocturnal Wonderland.
yeah,
Um, so it's now because I'm older. I'm not trying to like become the next big thing. I have no false notions that I'm going to be a touring DJ traveling all over the world.
right,
I had my time and it was fun, and I had a really good time. But I'm going to be 50 this year.
yeah,
So the way I look at it is I'm fortunate enough to still be able to DJ, and people still want to hear me and I still get gigs. So now it's like I might as well, I just want to enjoy it. I just want to have a good time, you know.
Yeah.
So me having a good time and enjoying it is the most important part of me DJing now. It's
Yeah.
not about me trying to, you know, become something more than I am already. It's, you know, I'm fine. I'm happy. I'm content.
Yeah, it's you know, in some of the events that you just named, so, you know, there's a lot of DJs that would kill to get a set at
Yeah.
any of those places to play. So to be fortunate enough to play at those events is just
Yeah,
is amazing.
absolutely. I,
Um,
I am very, very fortunate. I'm very blessed. I'm very lucky to be able to have experienced the things that I have. I mean, I always think about, you know, the rave scene has given me a lot, a
yeah,
lot. You know, my best friends are because of the rave scene. I
yeah.
met my wife because of the rave scene.
Wow.
So either way, regardless, no matter if my last gig is tomorrow night, if I was done after that, I have no more gigs after that.
Yeah.
Been a good run. I can't complain. I really can't complain. For me to be like, oh, I want more would be just like it'd be such a dick move. I
Right.
totally have enough. But if people want me to continue to play, absolutely, I'll keep playing.
Well, so why do you think people love to hear you play? Well, and it's a tough question to get you to answer that, but what is
It's
it that
hard to
people
answer
gravitate?
without it sounding egotistical,
Right.
right?
Yeah. That's kind of
Um,
like a edgy question there, but is it your style? Is it your energy? You know, and I'm sure you got feedback from so many people because, you know, I've seen you play and you're fucking amazing. And the feedback I get from people, the excitement of you arriving, not even at the event yet, just you arriving. Oh shit, Theo's gonna play. This is the set.
yeah.
Like that excitement that I've seen before is just it's amazing to see. So I just wanted to get your take on that.
It's interesting because my real name is Jacob.
Yeah.
And so Theo has always been like this uh, other part of me, of my personality. I tend to be very introverted. And but with Theo as, you know, a rave DJ, as you know, I've had to put out a part of my personality that has to be outgoing, that has to be somewhat the life of a party kind of thing.
Right.
Um, I would hope people like to hear me play because I try to do two things when I DJ. One is give you something new, and two is give you something that you would remember. So
Wow.
I want to play new music, but I also want to throw in something that was like, oh shit, I remember that song.
Okay.
So
Right.
I'm hoping that, especially as I'm older now, because when I was young, it was always about you got to play the new music, you got to play stuff that no one knows, you got to play
Right.
stuff that,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Um, so now it's more about playing the new good stuff, but also throwing back to things like I'll drop a freestyle track in the middle of
Yeah.
my house set. I'll
Yeah.
drop, you know, Push It by Salt and Pepper during the middle of
Yeah.
my house set. Yeah.
Right.
Because that is kind of tying um my roots as a DJ to what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Right. Dude, that's so profound. That's I love those two things, you know, to and I think that could be a part of why people get so excited when you're about to take those decks because they're thinking, wow, the excitement and just I'm going to remember this set as far as what you're going to play.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, I try to, you know, if I'm enjoying myself, hopefully people are enjoying themselves, you know, because I think
right.
there is that kind of symbiotic relationship between a dancer and a DJ.
Yeah.
And if I'm totally into it and I'm vibing, then I hope that, you know, the people who are on the floor are vibing just as much, you know.
Yeah. That's and it's also awesome that you met your wife. Was it at a particular event?
Oh man, it
Or
was in February of '97. And
what?
so yeah, it's almost 26 years now.
Oh shit.
And it was a party me and Tony were gonna play at, and then it got shut down, and they moved the party to another venue
Okay.
somewhere in downtown LA. I can't remember, but during the, because it wasn't originally there, it was actually supposed to be someplace else. But so they moved the party and they had to get everything ready,
Yeah.
set up the sound and get everything. So it took some time, but they let people into the venue before
Yeah.
the sound came on. And I remember seeing her and I'm like, "Oh, hey." And she was chilling and we ended up just having a conversation and she didn't know I was a DJ.
Yeah.
And, I was just trying to spit game, I guess. Um,
Love it.
yeah, and, I remember that, the promoter came up to me and was like he kicked me in the leg while I was lying down with her. And he's like, "Oh, you're up next." I'm like, "Okay, cool." She's like, "Oh, you're a DJ?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm Theo." She's like, "What?" She's like, "I love you." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I should have just started off with that."
I should have started off with that.
Yeah, we've been together ever since, basically. Yeah.
That is awesome. What a great story, bro. Holy crap. I love it, dude. Well, when you look back, dude, and you look at all the events that you went to, like
Yes.
even back in the day, what are the ones that really stand out for you? I mean, Messiah was your first one. But what are the ones
Messiah
that really,
definitely, just because it changes. Like, I think everyone, even now, who goes to their first event,
yeah,
whether it's an underground event or goes to like EDC, whatever, if it's your first thing, how can you not like be wowed by it? Kind of like
yeah,
it's such a unique experience that kind of takes your breath away, when you
yeah,
first go to your first party. And so yeah, definitely Messiah would have been like an absolutely like one of the most memorable ones. My first gig under the Candy Ground at the Casa,
mhm,
definitely.
yeah,
And doing Dune in '96 and '97 out on the middle of the Mojave. Those were epic parties. And then traveling, being able to travel. I remember the first time I actually, you know, went out of state to DJ. It was
yeah.
my first out of state party was in El Paso, Texas.
Okay.
So I never got a chance to see a lot of the country prior to DJing. It was like,
Wow.
I mean, I've been everywhere from Alaska to Hawaii to the East Coast to just because of DJing.
Wow.
So to me, being able to, see other parts of this world because of DJing has been pretty awesome. Um, and one of the most, even the things I'm doing, like lighting in the bottle last year was definitely memorable.
Yeah.
Nocturnal Wonderland was definitely memorable. So I'm glad I'm still able to, kind of create new moments, by still DJing. So I mean, I hope to, write it as long as I can.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Especially being able to see other parts of the country and be having that opportunity to DJ in those areas and just seeing the different scenes in that area. That definitely is exciting in itself.
Absolutely.
And I always, every time when I talk to someone like yourself, dude, I always ask this question: are you just completely blown away at how big the scene has gotten from days of the Messiah, those
Oh
initial
yeah.
days, into where it is today? And just it, I'm like, every time I go to EDC or Nocturnal Wonderland, I'm like beside myself, just in awe. Like, I can't believe it's gotten to this point.
Yeah. I remember walking, I DJ'd at EDC in 2016 for the first time well, it's been in Vegas. But in 2018, I also DJ'd there, but it was different. And we were camping. It was the first time they had the camping there. And we were
Yeah,
RV camping.
yeah,
And so I had to go in through the regular entrance to get into the event. And I remember getting up to the top of where the stairs are on the top of that stadium, and you can just see the entire party from there. And I was kind of floored
yeah,
because it's just so big. And it's like to think that what that you had any part of the any that you contributed in any part to the creation of that, the creation of the scene to the where it is now. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's
I feel both dumb and dumbfounded and proud
yeah,
that anything, like I wasn't planning to play ADC last year, but Pasquale called me out of the blue and was like, "Hey, I want you to play." I'm like, "Shit, all right."
yeah, that's
Yeah,
dope.
and
Yeah,
I have a lot of love for Pasquale. I think he's really, as much as Insomniac has grown into this crazy thing, um, I think Pasquale still has this huge admiration for the roots and the people who helped build the scene along with him.
right. Just that vision and the passion that he has. I mean, it. If you really think about it, EDC and just that entire series, not it just wouldn't have been as big without his passion and his vision and his hard work. That's a lot of hard work
Absolutely.
that was put in just to make it what it is today. So many people contributed just
Yeah.
on every single show. It's just, I'm sure right now they're working on the plans and figuring out what they're going to put up at EDC at this very moment.
Oh yeah, because and then this year is the Insomniac 30 year.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
sure there'll be all kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, so it's going to be amazing. So to be a part of that. Are you going, by the way?
I was planning to go to EC, but it's also the same night as Cruel World,
Ah,
which
okay.
is in Pasadena, which is has a bunch of new wave and thing bands I grew up with.
Oh, cool.
One of the major things, one of the reasons why besides getting a new job and all that, but one of the reasons I moved back from Hawaii is because I miss going to concerts.
Right.
In
Yeah.
Hawaii, there's lots of live music in Hawaii, but I was going to a lot of concerts when I lived in LA, and I was like, I missed that. So,
Yeah.
um, my wife and I love going to shows, and that's, a lot of the artwork that's on my walls is, we buy the posters of the concerts that we attend.
Oh,
Um,
no.
so, our lives have so much involvement in music.
Yeah.
Um, and the other part of that also is now I'm actually going to school to hopefully get my music degree.
Dope. Dope. And in what aspect of music?
I'm still figuring that out. I'm taking courses at the local community college in Santa Barbara so that I can transfer to UCSB, and they have a very good music program, even electronic music. So yeah, not sure where. I mean, I would love to teach at some point because that would be fun. But
Right.
really, it's just to kind of say I got my degree in music. So that's I'm really kind of just trying to focus on that as well.
Dude, that's awesome. Oh my God, dude, that's great. And dude, when you look back at all the events that you've played, is there a few that were just the craziest nights that you can look back and like, oh my God, I can't believe I played that event or that happened or this happened. You know?
Yeah, I remember this one party in Minneapolis called Jacob's Ladder, and
Yeah.
it was
Great
in the
name.
yeah, it was a fun time. It was in the middle of it was actually in this basement of this place, and it was
Oh shit.
super super sweaty. And I just remember it took me a long time to get to the decks, just trying to get through people, get through this crowd. And at the end of my set, thankfully I was at the end. The fire marshal came and shut everything down. But that night was crazy because it was just, I mean, I think being in that position where you're just surrounded by a lot of people is just because I get claustrophobic, so that's why I like being behind the decks because I'm feel like even last year I DJ'd at the tunnels in
Yeah.
San Diego. That is crazy. I mean, it almost freaked me out. Like I was
Oh
like,
shit.
thankfully the promoter was like there and he kind of walked me into the spot because it kind of freaked me out.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so there's these underground tunnels underneath the freeways in San Diego where
Yeah.
they've been throwing parties, and apparently they used to throw like punk shows there back in the 80s.
Wow. Dude, that's crazy. Oh
It was nuts, but it was a lot of fun. It was just nuts.
my God, dude. And bro, you've been DJing for 30 years now, man. And you know, it's so different now. And you know, what what it's to be a DJ today. I in your opinion, what do you think it takes now? Because it's changed so much from those days of
Yeah,
where you were making these badass mixtapes, getting the word out. There was no internet, word of
right.
mouth, it would just spread. Now today, what do you think it takes?
And it's definitely a social media presence,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
right,
I think it's turned into a numbers game. It's turned into how many people are following you, how many likes do your posts get.
right.
Um, and unfortunately, it's turned into a bit gimmicky, where
Yeah,
you see a lot of these DJs who are posting up, reels and you know, part of me is I understand it. I understand the social media aspect. I understand you got to do what you got to do. Absolutely,
yeah,
the hustle's changed.
right,
The hustle has absolutely changed. But I come from an era where you went to raves and you went to undergrounds to hear music you would never hear anyplace else.
right.
The only place you could hear this music was in the underground.
Yeah,
And so
true.
now all this music can be heard on, TikToks and Instagram reels. And
Yeah,
I don't know, it's kind of taken some of that underground appeal away.
yeah,
But I don't want to be the old man, and telling these young kids to get off my lawn,
right, right. Do you think
because
it's
they're
become,
they're having fun, they're doing their thing. I'm 50, I'm going to be 50 this year.
yeah, and it's what they know, right? It's what they know, like
Yeah,
with
so
technology and so
let
forth.
them let them create what they're going to create. I'm just glad I was able to enjoy it and be a part of it before it turned into this, because no
Right.
one can take those experiences away from me. No one
It's true.
can take the experience of a map point, finding your way through downtown LA to get to the casa to go to a party.
Yeah, right.
But these kids are never going to experience that.
That's so true. That is so true. Oh my God. Yeah, I was talking to Mariah. She shared some stories from back then, and it was just wow. Yeah, just those memories. No one's
Yeah.
going to experience that at all.
It's
Um,
just like any scene. If you're there at the beginning of the scene and you're able to be a part of a scene from its inception, then you get to be a part of something that very few can say they were a part of.
yeah, very true. And in your opinion, do you think DJing has become easier with technology or harder with technology than social media?
um Interesting. I think been having this discussion on Facebook recently, in fact this week, about technology and DJing and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
really? Okay.
so the way I look at it is technology or tools, right? Um, the turntable was never created to for scratching. The turntable was not invented for people to manipulate vinyl records in that way,
Right.
right?
Right.
It was someone who took the idea of this tool and pushed it past its limits. Okay,
Correct. That's
and
true. Yeah.
I think you can do that with any technology.
Right. Okay.
So
Right.
it isn't whether it's easier or not. I think what it is are the people who are still manipulating their tools to get a different outcome.
Right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
You know, because I mean, if I'm just using a brand new controller and I'm using it just in a simple way, that's one thing. But if I'm trying to do something more complex and more, you know, one of the things I try to do over the past couple of years is kind of do this hybrid DJing, especially when I was doing Twitch, where I took a sampler and I took a synth and I would layer that stuff on top of the DJing, on top of the records,
Oh, okay.
or on top of the MP3s or whatever. So to add a different layer of complexity or performance into the DJing that wasn't, it isn't just me playing MP3s, you know.
Right. Right.
Um, so I think if you're creative enough and if you still want to try different things, and I posted on Facebook this week that as long as I've been DJing, I will always remain a student. I will continue to learn. And that's the thing. If
Nice.
as long as you're trying to learn new things about your craft, then all of this stuff is just tools. It's you being creative with the tools that makes you exciting as a performer or as a
Right.
DJ.
Yeah, because you know you had that rise of the pre-recorded sets.
Mhm.
People are still using tools to create a creative set, whether it's live or not live. It's still a set
Yeah.
that's being used, and again, like you mentioned, it's the tools that are being manipulated, you know, for that set.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, no, that's a great point, man. Yeah, I was like looking at technology, and I was asking myself and asking a few people if you think technology has really made it easier or harder for the DJ. I know today, 2023, you have so many more DJs wanting to play, trying to get exposure.
Right.
And now it seems like the only way to try to get out there, as you said, it's social media. It's the only way.
Yeah.
You know?
Unfortunately, I mean, but that's, you know, those are the tools of this age, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. So yeah.
And
It, I'm glad I'm not a new DJ starting out. I'll tell you that much.
right. Right,
I
dude.
don't have enough time in my day to like focus on creating new reels and, you know, trying to, you know, catch
It's a
up
lot of
with
work.
else. I couldn't manage that. Yeah.
Yeah. You almost need a team.
Yeah. I'm very much happy that I grew up in a time where I would just make a mix in my garage, create a bunch of mixtapes and just pass them out.
Right. I think one thing that was really great about technology that really helped the DJ like yourself is those individuals that wanted to get into the producing side,
Yeah.
making music, whereas back in the early 90s, a lot of the technology wasn't available or it was too expensive at the time.
Right.
Where now, what's your take on that? Now, so much of that cost has dropped where any person can now make an amazing fucking piece of music.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think you know, removing barriers for creation is a good thing. I
Yeah,
don't think you know, just because you have the tools doesn't make you you know, I can fire up GarageBand and make a shitty tune, doesn't make me a good artist, right? But the more I learn and, you know, grow and, you know, try different things, you know, it all depends on what you want out of things. If you want to create yourself as an artist because
yeah,
you need an outlet and you need to create, then that's one thing. If you're doing this because you want to be on stage in front of 1,000 people, front of thousands of people, and you want your ego to be stroked, that's entirely different.
yeah,
It all
right,
depends on what you want out of this.
yeah, right.
And
No,
it's pretty easy to see, you know, what people why people are involved.
yeah, no, absolutely, dude. Anyone listening out there, man, and they're thinking about wanting to be a DJ, what kind of advice can you give somebody? This as far as
Why? Don't do something better. Go get it done. Do you think?
do something better.
People always, yeah. What would you tell people who are starting to DJ now? I'm like, don't. um, no, I mean, look, if that's the approach you want to take to your creativity, go for it.
Yeah.
DJing is a lot of fun. It's brought nothing but amazing people and love, and we went through that. I was telling my wife we already went through the story of us meeting because of the rave scene. So
That was a great story. I loved it. It was.
but you know, if I would never want to discourage anyone from trying to go out and pursue their passions. You know, when I say don't do it, it's really just poking fun at that everyone is a DJ now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
everybody wants to be a DJ.
Yeah.
So that skit in Portlandia where everywhere they go, someone's giving them a flyer for their DJ gig. And like
Right.
they go to the grocery store and it's like, oh, I'm playing tonight at this place. You know, it's like that's what it's turned into. It's like everyone is a DJ. Um, so if that's what your passion is and you want to play music and get people to dance, go out and do it. Just have fun. Whatever you do, just have a good time.
That's awesome. That's great advice, dude. That's awesome.
Life's too short.
Well,
Enjoy it.
I love the fact that you're still passionate, you're still playing, brother. And for those people that want to hear an amazing set, dude, where can people catch you? Where can people listen to you? I know you probably have a list of events that you're playing in the next month. Where can people catch you?
Yeah. If you want to just hear music, just go to my SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Theo, THEE-O. You can go to my website, djtheo.com. And I have a list of events that's typically up to date. I just updated it this week, but tonight or tomorrow night, I'm in Santa Barbara doing some drum and bass in the Funk Zone. Uh,
Ooh, Joe.
Sunday, I'm playing in LA for Super Bowl Sunday.
Okay.
Um, the Relove is happening at the end of this month. And then I got some festivals coming up. I got Lucidity in April. I got Bugged Out coming. I got uh, Lighting in a Bottle again this
Nice.
year. So
Yeah, that should be fun.
yeah. So yeah, I mentioned Lucidity. Yeah. So yeah, some good events coming up. So if you want to know more, just go to djtheo.com and I list all the stuff I'm doing there.
Awesome, brother. Well, dude, I loved having you on the show, dude. Great to hear your story, brother. I got nothing but mad respect for you, for your journey. You've been doing this for such a long time, and the reaction from people in the crowd is just that in itself just says it all about the respect
Well,
people
I
have for
mean,
you and what you've done.
it's it means a lot to me that people still um, actually want to hear me. It means the world to me. So thank you, Tiny, for this interview. Thank you for the opportunity to talk and tell my story. And no, it's been really nice talking to you.
Same here, brother. Awesome, brother. Well, I can't wait till I see another set, brother. Can't wait.
Appreciate it.
And peace, brother.